Now, earlier on, I spoke with Shadow Minister for Creative Industries and Digital, Sir Chris Bryant MP for Rhondda. Here's what he had to say. Bryant joins me now. He's the Labour MP for Rhondda, who's Shadow Minister for Creative Industries and Digital. Lovely to see you this morning, Mr Bryant. Thank you very much for joining us. Let's talk about some of Labour's policies then. We understand that you are going to have a bomb-proof manifesto, but it's perhaps conspicuous by its absence what's not in it. The Green Prosperity Pledge is being watered down. There's now going to be no mention of this 28 billion. There's going to be no new national care service. You're not going to be scrapping the Lords, having promised that for decades. You're only going to get rid of 90-odd hereditary peers. I mean, is this evidence that Labour can't stick to its promises even when not in power?
Camilla, I'm afraid you've been reading the newspapers and believing everything you read in them. None of that is true. We are certainly committed to our £28 billion Green Prosperity Plan because we want to make sure that we can protect our energy security in this country. We want to be able to capitalise on the jobs of the future for British people. We want to set up Great British Energy. We want to make all of that happen. Yes, sure, it's an ambitious commitment, but we are determined to make it happen. I can't tell you what day of what week it's going to happen, but for that matter, if you had Jeremy Hunt on here now, he wouldn't be able to tell you what the tax rates are going to be in 6 weeks' time or at the end of the year, or let alone what he's going to be spending in 2028, 2029. So, look, we want to be a credible government. That means no more inventing 6 impossible things before breakfast, no more gimmicks, serious, credible, practicable policies. We haven't published our manifesto yet. We will publish it later on this year when the general election comes. But yes, of course, we're going to be reforming the House of Lords. There are lots of different stages that there will have to be to that. Of course we are. We don't believe that the way that the House of Lords is presently constituted is right. Why on earth is Michelle Mone a member of the House of Lords? How on earth have we ended up with more than 800 members of the House of Lords? Why on earth is it possible when the committee that says
why not
such
scrap
and such
it
a person
completely,
is not
then?
a suitable person to go to the House of Lords, that the Prime Minister completely overrides it? Well, because I'm in favour of having a second chamber, and I think it should be a proper reflection of the whole of the United Kingdom, the nations and the regions, different parts of the country, rather than just very focused on London and the South East. It shouldn't just be a set of cronies appointed by Prime Ministers. You should have a proper process, and I would prefer to see it elected. But that is a massive piece of constitutional change which will take some time to deliver.
OK, but isn't one of the problems for Starmer is that he can't really scrap the whole of the Lords, because then how would he do favours for his friends and supporters? How would we then have the prospect of a future Lord Brown or a future Lord Blair or a future Lord who might have been a trade union baron who supported Labour? That's the problem, isn't it, Mr Bryant?
Good try, Camilla. I think you'll find that Tony Blair and Gordon Brown could have had a seat in the House of Lords many years ago if they'd ever wanted one. Look, the truth is, but honestly, that's not the plan. And wouldn't it be a good idea if we stopped any Prime Minister having a resignation honours list so that they can just bung their old mates who've done them favours over the years into the House of Lords, into the legislature for life? We want to change the House of Lords. Of course, it's going to be tough. You may not recall, but 100 years ago, Camilla, I know you can't remember this, but 100 years ago, in 1924, when there was the first Labour government, we only had 4 members of the House of Lords who were Labour Party members. So it was difficult to deliver what we wanted to be able to do. We are trying to put together a manifesto that is not only...
It applies to both sides, doesn't it? Lord Mandelson wasn't democratically elected. Labour have ennobled as many of their own friends and cronies as the Tories have, haven't they? I mean, do you want an elected chamber or not?
Well, sorry, Camilla, the numbers, you're quite wrong about the numbers. I think there are now 287 Conservative members of the House of Lords. There are I think it's 194, I might be slightly wrong, 194 crossbenchers and 170 or so Labour members.
Well, that's because the Tories have been in power more than Labour, isn't it?
I believe... well, actually, David Cameron was the fastest appointer of members of the House of Lords that there's ever been in our history. But look, the point is, we want to bring about change. We know that our constitution is creaking at the edges, and we need to bring about change. But it's got to be, we've got to be a credible government, and that means, first of all, we want to grow the economy. we know that one of the problems that we've had over the last 14 years is that we've not capitalised on the bits of the economy that we're good at. So, for instance, the creative industries, which have grown faster than any other part of the economy. We need to grow our economy as fast as we can. We need to build 1.5 million more homes. We need to make sure that people have access to energy, which is why we want to set up the Great British Energy Company, which is owned by the British people and is providing clean energy for people and ensures our energy security in this country.
Okay.
And yes, we want to change the social care system in this country. But look, it would be irresponsible to be a government that simply invented 6 impossible things before breakfast, like the Red Queen in Alice in Wonderland.
Okay.
What we need to do is be a government that is credible, not like Liz Truss and Kwasi Kwarteng.
No, fair enough. Look, I know you want to be a credible government. Would it be credible, for instance, Mr. Bryant, knowing how critical you have been of the former US president in the past, would it be competent and indeed credible, should Donald Trump come to power, that Keir Starmer is perhaps a future Prime Minister while Donald Trump is a future president? He invites him to the UK and then you, presumably, as you did in 2017, will call for Donald Trump to be arrested.
Look, I'm not a big fan of Donald Trump, and I make no bones about that. I don't think that somebody who denies the result of a general election is a good Democrat.
But Starmer might have to work with this bloke.
Indeed, and I remember when I worked in the Foreign Office as a Foreign Office Minister for about 10 minutes under Gordon Brown, that sometimes you have to deal with people who are not your immediate, obvious allies, and that's just part of what you have to do as a country and being a grown-up government. So if Donald Trump gets elected, that's up to the American people.
So you won't be calling for him to be arrested on arrival into the UK?
I won't, no.
Can I ask you a question in your former guise?
What's your view? Camilla, tell me, Camilla, what's your view about Donald Trump? Do you think somebody who has sought to mount an insurrection against a democratically elected president is the right person to lead America?
I don't usually answer the questions here, but as you've asked, I think that the Americans are facing a Hobson's choice between a man who may be under a custodial sentence by the time of the next presidential election and a man who can't finish a sentence, Mr. Bryant. So I think they're troubled either way. Can we move on very briefly to bishops and Church of England bishops? Because you used to be a Church of England priest. I wondered what you made of the various interventions that have been made by bishops, not only over the Rwanda bill, but also, as we learn in this recent case, of bishops getting involved in saying that asylum seekers are facing the threat of persecution because they have converted to Christianity, only for that to prove to be not to be true, and actually it's allowed quite dangerous people to remain in this country. Should bishops butt out, Mr. Bryant?
If I can separate out the two different issues. First of all, I welcome bishops taking part in the political debate. I welcome anybody of whatever faith and religion taking part in the debate in Britain. And I think the Church of England has a specific responsibility to do so. Personally, I would take bishops out of the House of Lords. I don't quite understand why we still have something which only refers to the Church of England rather than all the other faiths in the United Kingdom. And I would prefer people to be elected to the second chamber rather than appointed. As you say, I used to be a priest in the Church of England. I think actually Anglican clergy would say that once you're anointed as a priest, you're a priest forever after the order of Melchizedek. But I read the Bible in a different way from many other conservatives. I would say that Jesus' first sermon was, he said that I have been anointed to preach good news to the poor, to set the people free. So I know that people read the Bible in different ways, and I welcome that. When it comes to the issue of asylum, I do look at this horrific acid attack this week, and I want to go, I'm sorry, I don't want to undermine the particular tribunal, but I have no idea, if all the facts that we've been told from the papers are true, how on earth that person was granted asylum. So yes, of course, we've always got to look at the rules to make sure that fundamentally we, the British people, are safe.
OK, Mr. Bryant, thank you very much indeed for joining us.